He said he was going to cut a lot of unnecessary spending. Trump is now, according to Axios, they've got a scoop on this one, offering federal government employees, lots of them, millions of them, a buyout package. Now, here are the details. If they resign, federal employees resign by the 6th of February, they will be entitled to severance payments through September 30th of 2025. So they've got about a week to figure out whether or not they want to get on this Trump train, or I guess get off the Trump train, I guess, as it may be. And then they would get a really nice severance package. I'm assuming, as somebody who used to work in the federal government, you'd also have all these individuals able to get paid out on their comp time, which is something federal government employees have. So it could be a very nice package. The government-wide email is being sent out to federal workers. So the idea here is 6% of federal employees work full-time in the office. After 5 years past COVID, that's completely insane. So a lot of people aren't really doing anything, and enough is enough. So why don't we incentivize them to take a pretty hefty severance? I guess it would be, what is it, like we're looking at 6 months severance, something like that, 7 months severance. So, yeah, this is something that Trump is, that by the time you hear this, I think it'll already be out. Axios coming up with the scoop on this. The Trump administration thinks that this could save taxpayers up to, you ready for this? $100 billion a year in costs, because they believe, we'll see, that you could have hundreds of thousands of people in the federal government take this offer. So, you know what? Fine. I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to take my big severance package, and I am going to say, see you later. The White House expects 5 to 10% of all federal employees to take this offer. 5 to 10%. That's a big chunk. And this is just part of the early stages of trying to do things more efficiently and trying to save the taxpayer more money. It also goes to what so many people talk about this. I was in the CIA, and we would talk about it there, that there's the 80-20 rule, which is that 20% of the people do 80% of the work, 80% of the people do almost nothing. That is absolutely the case in the federal bureaucracy, I can tell you. Whether you're finding one individual office and looking at the high performers, or you're looking at the macro level, because the whole point, the problem with federal government service is, for the most part, there are too many people for you to be able to do meaningful work, right? Whatever issue, whatever you're working on, you're such a tiny little component of it. Unless you're very senior in one of these agencies, you're doing really almost glorified clerical work. And I'm talking about if you work at the Treasury and CIA and places like this. Unless you're high up the food chain, you're doing some really uninspiring stuff. And so that means that for a lot of people who are there, because they're supposed to be there for the mission, they're supposed to be there because, oh, it's so exciting to work in this place and I'm doing such good work. But that's not the reality for most people, most of the time in the federal workforce. So what it turns into is your value proposition as a federal government employee gets better by doing the minimum, right? If you do the minimum, things are better because you get paid the same either way. And all you have to do is meet standards or expectations, and then it's time in grade. How long have you been here? That's the most powerful thing that moves you forward. So you just want to do the minimum. The minimum is your best value proposition because your pay is the same. There's really no pay for performance. That's a lie. That's a myth. And so, yeah, you're getting the end result that is totally in line with the incentive structure that's in place. So I think this is a brilliant move from the Trump team. I think we're just beginning to see what Doge has in Doge, run by Elon now. No longer Vivek partnered up with him. It didn't last long. Doge is going to do, I think, more like this, where they take a private sector approach. It is a huge savings to the taxpayer if 5 or 10% of federal government employees, even with the severance they're going to get, all the benefits, the long-term costs, and all this stuff. So we'll see. I'd be surprised personally if they got over 5% of people taking this offer. I could be totally wrong. I'm just guessing. I'm just shooting from the hip on this. I think it might be a bit lower the administration thinks. We'll see. But it's the kind of maneuver that can cut down our incredibly bloated government, and also you want fewer people in government with nothing to do. That's a big part of this, because they end up not only being a drain on the taxpayer, but they get into mischief. And maybe they decide they want to start wielding what little power they have in ways that harasses the taxpayer, that causes problems for good Americans. So I think this is a win all across the board. It's exactly the kind of thing that I would like to see Trump and his team doing. And yes, that is good. I have an answer for you on drones, by the way. I have an answer for you on drones, which came courtesy of our new White House press secretary today. But I'll tell you right now, Trump could fire 80% of the federal workforce tomorrow and nothing would change of any meaning in this country. 80%, I think, could just be told, sorry, here's your severance, go home. This is a voluntary program they're offering now, but I'm just telling you, I think you get rid of 80%. I mean, by the way, Department of Education, gone. I mean, there's whole departments gone. Shouldn't even exist. No reason for them to exist. And I'm sure you could cut the EPA down dramatically. There's a bunch of, all these federal agencies. People don't even know what they do. And the people that work there don't know what they do because they don't really do very much, if anything. Look, I know that Trump's coming and doing amazing things. They're going to be cutting expenses. They're going to be cutting the bloated government. But we're at $36 trillion of debt already. And inflation is still a challenge. Now is the time to take the long view and diversify a portion of your savings into gold and silver. That's why I trust Birch Gold Group. They've released the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. To get your free copy along with Birch Gold's free information kit on gold, text my name, Buck, to the number 989898 or go online to birchgold.com/Buck. That's birchgold.com/Buck, or text my name, Buck, to 989898. By the way, you can turn an old IRA or 401k into a gold IRA or 401k. Birch Gold can help you do that. Text my name, Buck, to 989898 today. Go check it out. So I am going to be able to tell you that the drones, remember we're doing drones here on the show? I knew it wasn't going to be anything that interesting. We just needed an answer from the government. We're able to get an answer from the Trump administration within the first week. Biden administration looked like he was just a befuddled clown, which of course he was, and all the people around him. I mean, what a disaster of an administration. It was, they couldn't even get you the most straightforward, simple questions answered. So that, I think, is part of what you're seeing here. Anyway, the point is, it was FAA-approved drones, and it was not really a big story, or I should say it was not really a big thing. Unless you think that the Trump administration is lying to you, I don't. I never believed that it was some Iranian drone program off the U.S. coast. It makes no sense. So I don't remember exactly what I said here about it, other than I was like, well, look, there's some possibilities. Why can't they get us an answer? Well, they can get us an answer. At least Trump's team can get us an answer. So that's what we're seeing. But I will just tell you this. The conspiracy stuff online's gotten a little out of control. Generally, conspiracies are not true. I'm not saying none of them are true, but generally they are not true, because reality is far less interesting than conspiracy theories. This is something you have to just, that's, you know, when they say if something's too good to be true, it is. By the way, I have found in life that is always, I can't think of a time when something wasn't too good to be true, and it wasn't. But anyway, if it sounds too cool to be real, it's not. And that's or too interesting to be real. That's the reality of so many of these conspiracies that you'll hear. And this is why I've been saying all along, RFK assassination, JFK assassination, and MLK assassination files. It's not even going to make for interesting reading. And, you know, if you think I'm wrong, wait and see. What we know, what the people that think there's some big conspiracy on any of those, they're going to end up saying, they're going to end up telling you, oh, but it's because they wouldn't write it down. Well, yeah, okay, maybe that's true. But people have been saying for years, and they've been pushing Trump to release this stuff. And fine, I agree with the transparency component. Release it. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm just saying it's not going to be that interesting. Nothing the government does that is very, very interesting, that is, that would grab everyone's attention, stays secret for very long. That's another principle. Oh, look, I'm throwing out all these different principles today. Nothing the government does that is that interesting stays secret for that long. So there's nothing in those files. You're going to say, oh, my gosh, we've known all along. I don't see that happening. I think that's look, I wish that was the case, but same way that when everyone tries to tell me that we have aliens have landed and stuff like this, I just always say, well, that wouldn't be hard to prove. It would be really easy to definitively show me evidence of aliens, space aliens I'm talking about, not illegal aliens. Whole other conversation we're going to be having here on the show. But it never exists. It's always some guy who's like, oh, they like grabbed me from the UFO and then they poked me and I was really drunk. And no. We don't need any of that. Okay. So we want to stay attuned to reality and what is likely and what is accurate. And that's why, the drone thing. Okay. A lot of people, I think what happened here was people started flying their drones. There were reports of some drones that were allowed to be doing some research or something. Oh, what's the research? I don't know. But then other people started flying their drones up in the air too, because they figured, oh my gosh, everyone's flipping out, and I'm allowed to fly my drone, so I'll do it too, and it'll add to this frenzy. I think that's probably what happened. But there was nothing really that interesting or that crazy to look at in those files. And once again, most of the time, the truth about any kind of a news story that has people really fired up, most of the time it's pretty boring. It's pretty boring. So, yeah. It's a principle from Buck. I tell you the truth on this stuff. Last week I was at SHOT Show, the nation's largest annual convention of firearms manufacturers, and I was there with our friends from Bear Creek Arsenal, North Carolina-based company. They make great their rifles and the pistols they had on display. So proud of the craftsmanship. Such a great company. And I've got a bunch of their firearms here at home. And when you attend these kind of conventions like SHOT Show, you see all these manufacturers with their products on display. But Bear Creek Arsenal, I've already got 4 of their guns. I was like a kid in a candy store when I was visiting. It was incredible. One great rifle, one great pistol after another. Stay updated about everything happening with Bear Creek Arsenal, and go get yourself your first or maybe your 5th Bear Creek Arsenal firearm. You won't regret it. The best prices you're going to find anywhere on guns of this quality. Go to bearcreekarsenal.com. Again, that's bearcreekarsenal.com. And sign up for the newsletter when you're online. All right, we're going to have a lot more for you tomorrow, team. Thanks for hanging. Shields high.